There's something about an old quilt that tells a story. And either it's a piece of fabric from a dress that was somebody's favorite, or how it was really simply made to keep somebody warm. Well, I was about 45 when my memory started fading. Could have been that brain tumor, I don't know for sure. But I asked myself, how am I going to remember my past? Because I could realize things were fading, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to lose it. So I wanted to hang on to those years, those growing up years that I did in Natchez, Mississippi, where my mom and dad had 7 kids in 10 years, and Daddy had 10 and 13. That was a lot of siblings. We were pretty close growing up. Mom and Daddy built a house on land that was owned by his mama. And Medea kind of lived over the way on a hill in a bigger house. And we were at the end of the road, away from everything and everybody, and way out in the country. Route 4, Box 118. We didn't get many visitors, and I remember how we used to run out on the porch every month when the meter reader came and just stare. I'm sure that man thought we were always crazy, but I don't know if we were staring because it was a visitor or because he was white, and probably both. But anyway, our world was very small, and so any kind of interruption was attention-getting. We had a 2-bedroom house, and Mom and Daddy had a bedroom, and then there was one for the girls, and then my 2 brothers slept on a fold-away in the dining room. And I actually slept in a little bed in my Mom and Daddy's room for quite a while, until a spot opened up in the girls' room when somebody went off to college. But anyway, there was no such thing as my room or go to your room. You know, I owned a drawer in a dresser. And that was communal living at its best. So we had an outhouse, and we didn't get the bathroom and running water till maybe I was 3rd, 4th grade, something like that. The kitchen didn't get running water till way later. But anyway, there was no time that we ever complained about not having modern conveniences. I mean, nobody did. Everybody lived this way. And what we had really was all we needed. And so the land that we lived on just had so many different landscapes. There was the holler, there was the bottom, there was the back, there was the ridge, there was Death Valley, there was the creek, there were the banks, there was the garden, there was the lower garden, there was the higher garden. So we had all of these places that became destinations. Destinations for the cows, destinations for hunting and fishing, but primarily places that we walked to and had adventure, playing all day. And whenever we would leave out, you know, every day Mama would say, same things. Watch out for rattlesnakes and black widow spiders, and don't go near that water. We had fun. We listened, but we had fun too, to her commands. And Daddy worked at a paper mill for all of his life, and he had some side hustles. And we picked greens and pecans and peas. And he sold whiskey. He made whiskey. And he and his brothers had a whiskey operation that had quite a few customers. It lasted a long time until the revenue agents came and shot up that steel. Boom, 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 boom. And we could hear it because it was located down in the hole. Remember I talked about a destination? That was a destination for the grown-ups, was that? Anyway, and Daddy had just left the still and was walking over the hill. And of course we didn't know what was going on, but Mama tells me that some green trucks had sped down the road and turned around and zoomed back up earlier that day. So they'd definitely been on the lookout for Daddy and his brothers. But anyway, they didn't get fined, and it was likely because of who their clientele were. They weren't just selling it to, Uncle this or that. They had some people on there, history list. But anyway, but Daddy wasn't going to be outdone. He decided that he was going to get another still and put it in the lower garden and cover it with corn stalks, so if they did a flyover, they wouldn't be able to detect that. But I have to add here, it was $6 a gallon. Oh. $6 a gallon is what they sold that for. Anyway, he also had a tractor and a plow and a mule, and a mule named Old Red. And every time the mule died, he would replace it, named it again Old Red. I never asked him why. And things just didn't change. They pretty much stayed the same. And I guess for Daddy, it's like, why change? The mule don't know. So just keep it the same. But we ate a lot of homegrown vegetables. And yes, we had grass-fed beef before it was cool to have such, along with squirrel and deer and rabbit. And everybody helped everybody. So no one ever went hungry, and everybody had a surplus of vegetables and stuff like that. But I remember one day I heard Mom out on the front porch, and there was just this ruckus, and I was going like, I asked her, I said, what were you doing out on the porch so early? And she said, oh, Ellie brought me that chicken, and I was trying to get it so we could have it for dinner. And she said, I just wish he wouldn't bring me live chickens. And that I would like to have them already cleaned. And I knew she would never go and tell Mr. Ellick that, and she would never say no to his gifts. But, fresh chicken is really delicious, kind of thing. But we didn't go many places. I went to school and I went to church every Sunday. And church was a once a week chance for my mom to get together with her relatives, because everybody in the church were kinfolk. Everybody. And so we didn't have telephones, so it was a way to get the news on what was going on. But it was also a time that I got to play with cousins that I don't normally see other than that once a week. And the little Catholic church was family built, family filled, but set out in a field of cows. Somebody had donated the acre and just, decided to still have their cows in the church, as well. And I have to tell you, those cows were very important for me. I would daydream about those cows and so many of those homilies that Father presented. It was just like, thank you. But anyway, as I said, everybody in the church were kinfolk. And it's kind of funny. So confession, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Catholic tradition, but confession was held right before Mass. And the little church had 50 seats, all filled up. So you got to see who went back to the confession. You got to see. So nothing was private, and you're kind of going like, oh my God, what did they do? What are they having to clean up? What sin did they commit? Like, oh my God, kind of thing. So one day Uncle Howard went back, and he stayed a long time. A long time, too long. And I was worried, but I wondered for years, what did Uncle Howard do? And he died. I still didn't have any answers. And so I asked my mom a couple of years before she passed away, I said, did Uncle Howard have anything unsavory going on in his life? And she said, no, I don't believe so. And she said, why are you asking? I said, because I told her about the extended, lengthy confession. And she just said, girl, get out of here. And, so some things you don't ever find answers to, but I'm still trying to find out that one. But I grew up and left home at 17 and went off to college and had 3 kids, and Daddy got sick. And so he and Mama thought that they better move closer to town. And so they did. They bought a house in a subdivision, and actually later that year, Daddy died. And so, I went home. I went to Cedar Lane where Mama lived, but that country place was missing. It had given me so much love and warmth and security that I just knew that I wanted to hang on to it. It had shaped who I was, it and the little church. And so it was about that time that I noticed that my memory was fading. And I kind of was going like, what do I do? How do I preserve this thing? How do I keep it? How do I get to share it? Because I never thought that I wouldn't have it in my life. You grow up going on and on and on, and you're never really thinking, hey, not only can something change, but how it's gonna affect you. So it was then that I kind of said, well, we don't even really have a lot of pictures. There's no cameraman walking through the countryside. And so I didn't have an archive of even having a real picture of what home looks like. So I decided at that time to make a quilt of my story, a quilt of Ralph Forbach's 118. And I shared it with my family at a family reunion. And I included all the things that were essential to us, but primarily my story. And everybody cried, and my mama did. And I just let her know. I said, I really tried to give you Tina Turner legs. and that made her smile. But what else happened was everybody started saying, oh, did you add this and could you add that? And I realized that we all have our own stories. We all have our own quilts. But I knew I had that quilt, that creation that was going to stay with me, that was going to preserve Rock $5, $4.60. And not too long after that, I decided to quilt the church, St. John the Baptist Mission Catholic Church in Cranfield. And it was actually built by my great-grandfather in 1916. And so my handiwork I always saw was paying homage to him and all the other Fleming descendants. And, I miss those times, but I have those quilts that are tangible objects that help me preserve and recall and relive that time in my life. Thank you very much.